Introduction to Classical Tibetan, Lesson 4.1, the agentive or instrumental particle. The next particle that we're going to talk about is the agentive particle. This is also sometimes called the instrumental particle. This particle, as we've mentioned in the last lesson, is spelled ki, gi, gi, sa, or yi, depending on the spelling of the syllable that comes before it. As its name suggests, this particle marks the agent of an action or the instrument that carries out an action. Its usage can be described in three ways, which we'll talk about today. The most important function of the agentive particle is to mark the agent of a transitive verb. It's usually, but not always, left untranslated. This is a particle that shows the intentionality of an action. Let's look at a couple of examples. Sangye ki chu teno. We saw this sentence last week. It means, the Buddha taught the Dharma. The agentive particle here marks that the act of teaching was done by the Buddha. Sometimes people translate the agentive particle as by, so we could say, the Dharma was taught by the Buddha. This is also a correct way to translate this sentence, but it's important to keep in mind that Tibetan does not distinguish between active and passive verbs. If you get into the habit of translating every agentive particle as by, then you're forced to use passive constructions when they might not always make the most sense. Let's look at one more. Kyu ki ke di sung so. Here, the agentive particle marks the subject, kyu. This signifies that the subject or agent, kyu, performed the action. Sung, translated as said in this case. Now we're left with the object, ke di, meaning this speech. So the sentence reads, you said this speech, or maybe you said these words. The second use of the agentive particle is to mark the instrument of an action. We can translate this as by, through, which, by means of, and so on. Sometimes we encounter more than one agentive particle in a sentence. Usually, one marks the agent and the other can mark the instrument. Here are a few examples. Let's start with this. Nge kushu sa. Here, the agentive particle marks the agent, I. Sa means eat, and the object is kushu, apple. So we have I, eat, an apple. Look at what happens when we add more information to this sentence. Nge kushu lakbe sa. We have two agentive particles here, one marking nga and the other marking lakba, meaning hand. The subject or agent of this sentence is still nga, and the object is still kushu. The verb still sa. But now we have additional information showing the instrument of the action. We can translate this as with hands. So now we can read this sentence as I eat an apple with my hands. Here's another one. So first of all, what's the verb here? Su. This means kill. So we know that this is a transitive verb. So where's the agent? Well, we have two agentive particles, one marking makmi, soldier, and another marking relji, sword. What's left here is the object, janam, enemies. Now that we have all of the individual elements, we can piece them together. So, looking at the main verb, who does the killing? The soldier. We know this because makmi is marked by the agentive particle. And who is killed? Enemies. Notice that the direct object of the verb is not marked by any particle. And how are they killed? What is the instrument used? Sword. Again, this instrument of the action is marked by an agentive or instrumental particle. So now we can say, the soldier kills the enemies with a sword. The third use of the agentive particle is to show how an action is done. In this way, we can understand agentive particles as things that turn nouns or adjectives into adverbs. For example, the word rimpa means stage or sequence. If we add an agentive particle to this word, it becomes rimgi, meaning gradually. In sentences, adverbs usually come right before the verb that they modify. For example, take the sentence lame chutun. The lama, marked with the agentive particle, teaches the Dharma. Now let's add another element here with another agentive particle. Lame chu nyingje chenpo tun. Nyingje chenpo means great compassion and is marked with an instrumental particle. So we can translate this as with great compassion. So now we have the Lama teaches the Dharma with great compassion. We can have multiple adverbs present in a sentence as well. So let's add another element to this sentence. Lame chu nyingje chenpo rimgi tono. Now we have rimgi, meaning gradually. So we can just add this into the sentence. The Lama teaches the Dharma gradually with great compassion. Remember that the terminating particle doesn't add any literal meaning to the sentence. It just marks the end of an idea. Remember that nominal groups are inseparable units that have to stay together in a sentence. So when dealing with agentive particles and nominal groups, it's important to keep in mind that the agentive particle applies to an entire nominal group and not just to the last element in that group. So to sum up, the agentive particle marks the agent or the instrument of an action. It can indicate the agent of a transitive verb and is usually left untranslated. It can show the instrument of an action and is usually translated as by, with, through, and so on. Or it can turn nouns and adjectives into adverbs, showing how an action is carried out.